Yes, people, how you doing? Welcome back to the, it's double channel time. Football Inc. and the Spurs Talk Show. We hope you're all happy and healthy doing the things you love. We got Johnny back from Dubai, and he's been sorely missed. But you know what? He's had some dramas. He was out there on location, reporting back from the kind of knocking on the door of Qatar, and then I'll let Johnny explain what happened out there. But he's had some nightmares, on part of his holiday, Holly Pops. Johnny, how you doing, mate? We've got some big news, big stories to get through today.
Yeah. Listen, my wife fell over and tore her tendons, so I went to the Saudi German hospital, which I've got to say, once you've gone there, you realise what a mess this country's in. Because it was unbelievable. The service was incredible. Okay. It was like the Real Madrid versus Barnsley. If the NHS was Barnsley, I went to the Real Madrid. Everyone was amazing. Everything was fantastic. But unfortunately, in a wheelchair, in a boot, and I'm now a trainee Filipino come servant.
Just quickly, just in the interests of balance, the NHS is also a wonderful institution, and the Filipinos are also known for other things other than just being.
No. Listen,
they're getting cancelled straight out of the bat. 90 seconds in, and the channel shut down.
No. Let me tell you something. Without the NHS, the country would be a mess. I'm just saying. I was a bit taken aback at at how amazing it was. Even though it was a private hospital, I had to pay for it. We had to pay for it. The level was still amazing because everything was done in a day. The report was done. The X-rays were done. The doctor was done. None of this come back in 3 days' time, or we'll see you in a week.
See you in 6 weeks. Yeah.
None of that stuff. But so came back for the little demonstration.
We'll talk about that. I want to talk about that as well, mate. They say, first and foremost, I guess I need to probably wasn't clear the air. It's not even the right way of saying it. I guess I need to correct the tape. In one of the videos I put out, I said at the end of it, because I was just walking along at the back, there's certainly absolutely no intention to deceive, or there was nothing in the way to, in any way, shape, or form, like sort of talk down the numbers. I was really, really sort of pleasantly surprised. I thought it was really good turnout. But I said, not that I'm a person counter in real time, but I said I'll probably somewhere like 600 to 800, maybe from the viewpoint that I had. And then I kind of corrected it a little bit later on and said probably a bit more than that, maybe like 1,200, 1,400, something like that. But then when I saw that video, I think George Sessions posted it, right, from the, I don't know if he had a drone or was he just up a lamppost or what, but I don't know how he got that viewpoint. But it looked like far, far bigger from that point than from the one that I saw at the back. So, probably I'd even make the argument just from that viewpoint, it's probably more than a couple of thousand there. It looked like it was real numbers. So, congratulations to Billy and to Jay and the people that organised it. Really impressive stuff.
Yeah, no, and also to Brian Daigle, who unfortunately would have loved to have been there, but unfortunately he's trapped in a little country called Canada and couldn't make it. But it was
to everybody.
Look, there were a lot of people there who were involved.
Everybody knows my stance on Daniel Levy, Johnny. Right? Like I don't share the same resentment towards him or the same sentiment towards him. I just think other things that are massively influential are not tuned into the conversation enough by people that feel the way they do. That doesn't mean that I think that those people are, wrong, or that I don't see the value in the protest. And I think it was a really, really good demonstration of people's voice. I very much champion the right to protest, always have, not just for Tottenham, but for everything. If you're unhappy in a democracy, you show your distaste for it by peaceful protest. And look, I was a little bit concerned about walking into that, Johnny, and walking into the lines then a little bit, considering the way some people in the online space think of me or whatever. But actually, it was brilliant, mate. Everyone was really, really friendly. Got some good interviews with people. Held them to account for some of their takes because I think some of them were, I heard things like anyone but Levy will do, which I think is just madness. But like I say, to each their own. Really well done. What I would say though, Johnny, I've got to ask you this, mate. And I know you're someone that's very much on board that movement.
I'm split, that, Sean. Like I'm more measured, I would say, in the sense that I believe what he's done off field is amazing, But what he's done and his distribution of that wealth could be greater, would show a better sign of ambition. Listen, look, I'm ridiculed in my own household. My boys think I'm pathetic.
For being for not Levy out enough, or for being Levy out at all?
For being Levy out.
Really? Okay, right.
And I said, well, I'm really quite shocked, really, because I've seen the glory. Maybe they're just used
Daddy
to.
didn't make so full. You could say that,
Yeah, well, maybe they're used to not winning anything and not seeing anything in the 24 years that they've been there, right? They've not seen anything. Whereas, unfortunately, I grew up as a kid, in glory, or tasting glory. And,
but there's a reason why no FFP existed back then, right? There's a reason why PSR wasn't a thing 40 years ago. There's a reason why football finance wasn't a conversation.
It's different. It was the game was about the people. You went down there. I went under the turnstiles. There was a guy taking money, some for the club, some for me, letting his mates in for nothing, getting stuck on the turnstiles. I mean, the club, I remember once going to an Everton game and they said it was 52,000. Well, if there was 52,000, my grandma was my grandpa, because, that you couldn't breathe there. It was people packed in. They used to fudge the gates. You had the guy walking around. Food, it was a guy walking around selling roasted peanuts.
I saw that on Twitter last night. Yeah.
Going to the toilet was a giant trough. Right.
Yeah. That feels like the Stamford Bridge away end. I don't know if you've been to the Stamford Bridge away, and that toilet's experience is something else. But what I just wanted to quickly touch on with that, and by the way, we have got this news regarding Richard Keys, what he said regarding what he's heard, and there's lots of Jesus, my wall's falling apart here. There's lots of things going on in the within his statements. That
you're at the Maddison United Stadium there.
Or the Everton test.
Hang on, get your umbrella out in case it starts leaking.
What I want to ask you, like, put aside all of the kind of Levy out, Levy in personal takes for a second.
Yeah.
If you're Daniel Levy, regardless of whether there was 1,500 people there, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, at the end of the day, there were 62,800 people at the game on Sunday, of which 4,000 or 5,000, whatever, were Man United fans. So there's 57,000 left over. You're talking about 5%, right? Give or take, maybe 6, 7, 8, maybe 4, 3, whatever, right? Whatever, like, not a huge amount. And I know that the argument of the people that want to see everything about that thing from the positive side, and I totally ascribe to a lot of it 100%. But just to play devil's advocate, as we like to do, if you're Daniel Levy and you're baking in how much attention that has had, how much publicity, how vocal it's been on BBC, on TalkSport every day, and on all of the different YouTube, social media channels that these people have gone on to push the thing. If you're Daniel Levy, if you're Daniel Levy's advisors, if you're looking for the PR spin where you think that you're in the right anyway, and that you're looking for a way to kind of say, well, pretty good day for me, could he lean into the argument that given all of the publicity and also the fact that Tottenham's current plight is fairly irregular, fairly abnormal, and it probably won't last in an ideal world, right? Could you make the argument that if only 5% of the match-going fans that weren't asked to really, go out of their way to participate, they didn't have to go 5 miles away. That was literally 100 meters up the road, right? So it was on the way to the ground. Could you make the argument, if you're Daniel Levy, that 95% of people at the stadium don't feel the way that these people do? Therefore, actually, it's not as big a deal as others would have you believe?
No, because first of all, I don't think he gives a damn one way or the other, right? I don't think anything affects him, because if anything affected him, he wouldn't have got rid of concessions. He wouldn't have done some of the things in the timings that he did, whether it be the furlough, whether it be, whether it was the Super League, whether it was, he doesn't think about the bigger picture or the repercussions of his actions on many, many occasions. I'm not going to go through them all now. We all know them, not backing Poch, then sacking Poch because he hadn't got backed and he wasn't getting the result.
There's context to every single one of those situations, though.
But what I'm saying is, right, he ain't right on all of them. Okay.
Of course not. No, of course.
And my other point
is wrong on loads of things. He's made so many mistakes. But if 25 years, you're not going to be perfect, after 25 minutes.
No, but what I would say is though, no movement started with tens of thousands. Okay, the movement of Levy out or Enoch out started on Twitter. Now, we might think in our Twitter universe that, well, it's a massive universe, but really it's a speck of dust in the real world, because,
right,
you know, speak to many people, Twitter, they're not on Twitter. They don't even do YouTube, right? You know, speaking to people, they don't do any of that stuff, right? There's a generation that don't do any, and there's a generation that can't live without it.
Yeah,
which is, you know, sort of maybe.
And the future is going. The future is more of that, right? So
correct,
the trend
correct,
towards more apathy
correct,
towards Tottenham, if the present tense is to be believed, is
correct.
one directional. Yeah.
But what I would say is that, you know, speaking to people, I was in East Premium, and I spoke to some people, came in the sword and the scarf, and they said, you know, what was it like? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah. I said, what are your thoughts? And they said, well, to be honest with you, we were a bit surprised there were so many people. I said, so, you know, are you leaving? Oh, no, you know, we wouldn't mind a change. And I said, well, why didn't you go? We didn't want to be embarrassed and turn up. You know, maybe if there was other demonstrations, now seeing the sort of sides of it, we might be tempted to go the next time. Then I spoke.
So you got the Johnny Come Latelys, and then you got the Johnny Come Laters.
Well,
You know?
it's like
the ones that will turn up once there's a movement. Yeah, I hear
you know, look. Let's be honest, right? There are people that watch a TV show and say, "Oh my God, it's the worst thing I've ever seen," and they sit there and they write a letter of complaint, right? Okay, and they write to the BBC or they write a complaint. And there are other people who aren't happy, but just sit there and do nothing, right? And there is a lot of that. That is the vast majority who sit.
I don't know about that.
I do. I think complaining.
That's a massive statement, mate.
No,
it's like,
hang on, let me finish. Let me finish,
Okay.
Sean. What I'm saying is, I think a lot of people, more people in life, are complainers rather than actually getting up and do something about it, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's
but the effort to do something about it is minuscule in terms of if you're going to the game and you feel strong. All you're doing is walking to the stadium anyway. You're just doing it with a group of people at a certain time.
I'm talking about effort, right? People can't be bothered with a lot of things. They sit there and moan. Look, back in the day when there wasn't social media, people went down to the pub afterwards and they had a bitch and a moan and they went home, had a couple of drinks and they went home. Now social media, it's a 24-hour moan.
Right, but that's right. Where I would agree with you, mate, is I think that it's absolutely 100% undeniable that there is a direct correlation between apathy or resentment towards Daniel Levy and the amount of attention that you dedicate of your life in a variety of different ways towards Tottenham. Right, so people that have the amount of loyalty points to go to Tamworth or to go to Bournemouth, they're the sort of people that have to travel to Galatasaray, right, or to carry a bag away, whatever. Right, and
a lot of those people were there at the demo.
100%. But I'm saying, like, so those people, not only are they dedicating much of their week towards traveling to and experiencing Tottenham. And so that's a direct relationship with your energy, your attention, your free time, and of course your money. Then when you go to those games, you hear like the percentage of people that are calling Levy out songs as a percentage of the people that are in that environment is far higher than it is at the stadium, right? And then you've got people that go on YouTube channels or people in the comment section. Like if these guys that are watching this now, by the way, there's 450 people, make sure you smash the like and subscribe if you enjoy the kind of balanced debate here. But also, please, if you are watching this on Spurs Talk Show, jump over to Football Inc. This is Johnny and I's second venture where we are talking about all things football, but Tottenham is obviously a part of that. So make sure you please go over there, hit the subscribe, and also spend some time over there as well. We're trying to chew up the hours.
Trying to get the algo going for that.
Trying to get the algo going and the hours up. But just to finish off, like sorry, mate. Yeah, just quickly. So it's not just the people that go to away games; it's also the people that spend time listening to bozos like me and you, and they're that invested in Tottenham that they want anything they can, any amount of like Tottenham content they can get. So, but there's loads of people that don't have the ability to do that or the willingness to do it. And I think that there's a direct correlation that is undeniable between how much attention you give towards Tottenham versus how you feel about Daniel Levy. I think that is that's undeniable, right? That Levy out is more attention equals more Levy out. But to make this assertion, and I've heard other people saying the numbers would have been far higher if more overseas fans who spend their time on the YouTube channels were in London. But then that's making a giant assumption that everybody that's overseas is leaving out. And I think you're going to have similar percentages to people that are leaving in and leaving out or leaving otherwise.
No, I don't. Listen, look, I've seen the people saying, I'll be there. And, you know, they don't turn up in earlier campaigns. And, you know, Jay and Change for Spurs and Billy and everyone concerned with that done a fantastic job raising awareness. What I'm saying to you, Sean, is that many, many fans are not leaving in, right? But they don't have, they're either at work, they don't have, you know, they don't have the time or energy for it. They've got no time for demonstrations and they've got no time for any of that. But what I'm trying to say,
I'm not asserting that every Levy outer that is a Levy outer was at the protest. Of course not. Of course,
no,
people
there
weren't there. They couldn't be there.
What I'm saying to you, that some of them, you know, who sort of know me, say, "Oh, you know, I'd be embarrassed to go." You know, like, you know, what sort of people are there? And I was going, well, what do you mean? What does it matter what type of people that are there? And listen,
brilliant people,
there are other people.
So many cool people there.
Yeah, lots of great people there. And I've got to be honest with you, like, I also spoke to some people who are quite worried. There is, as you know, a large Jewish community at Spurs. And I was speaking to them and they were saying to me, you know, I don't know how I'm going to feel. Although, you know, if the Qataris came in with their involvement, in supporting Hamas and, you know, their funding of what's going on.
Not just Hamas, right? But the obvious, like the treatment of, you know, LGBTQ, the treatment of women, all of these things are part of the conversation. They're uncomfortable conversations to have because you're always going to invoke reactions. But they're conversations that should be had.
Yeah, but especially now with, you know, with this topic being such a hot topic, I know the Hamas leaders have, you know, since Trump's gone in, they've now fled to Turkey so they're trying to sort of cleanse themselves and all the rest of it. But, you know, that leaves an uncomfortable feeling. And, you know, I know some people, a lot of Spurs will say, well, we don't give a shit about, you know, what the Jewish people feel about the club. It's a large Jewish fan base, which is why we are called the Yids. And, you know, being Jewish myself and, you know, back in the day, it was like a badge of honor, right? And, you know, I used to find it brilliant. You know, I used to go as like a 16-year-old to away games and I'd be with like 2 or 3 black guys and they're going, we are the Yids, right? And I'm like, yeah, boys. You know, and, you know, it was a badge of honor to defend ourselves against like the hissing noise of gas chambers and all the anti-Semitic stuff that we had. So I always feel like there's a sort of camaraderie. And, you know, I wouldn't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. And I think it's probably only the Qataris are probably the only buyer that would upset them, funny enough, not the Saudis, because the Saudis are trying to sort of cleanse the way they operate everything, as you can see with the boxing and the UFC and the golf and everything.
Yeah.
So listen, well, I don't know. I don't know, but I think you know there
might be the only realistic
buyer
bidder at the moment, Johnny, and especially one that's going to do. You know, and again, like listening to some of the rationales on the interviews that I took, I thought I tried to hold people to account without getting into the nitty gritty because you can't really have a detailed conversation in 5 minutes. But I think there is this belief that, you know, new buyers coming in, whoever they are, but if they're Qataris, that they can do similar things to what Manchester City's owners did and what Abramovich did. And of course, those things are just fundamentally not true. I've got some, for what it's worth, some.
Well, it depends, John. If it would depend, you would be correct in assuming that, depending on what happens moving forward with, you know, the sponsorship. For example, if QIA or QSI came in, their subsidiaries, for example, they could bring in an airline to pay grossly over the odds for a sponsorship deal. Okay, and that would be okay because
Right, but isn't that interesting, though, mate? Is that all of a sudden that the people that are vehemently Levy out suddenly would care about things that I've been talking about for the last 3 years, that everyone yawns and rolls their eyes to, saying we don't care about finances, we're not accountants, we're not spreadsheet merchants, all of this stuff. But all of a sudden, you know, as soon as the idea is there to get Levy out, then all of a sudden the spreadsheets come out and say, well, what can we do again? What does that look like? And of course, all that stuff's up in the air because PSR and FFP is literally being not tossed out, but it's all up in the air right now. So,
kicked down the road, isn't it? It's kicked down the road.
The can's being kicked. I mean, look, I do have, obviously, yeah, you're right. The naming rights deal could be something that is meaningful. We're gonna before we get into the nitty gritty, let's at least talk about what it is that Richard Keys said, because he did say that the deal to buy Tottenham is done. But there's context to that, and I'm going to go through it because the specifics of what he said on his show is, you'll be interested to hear that I was in the company of someone this weekend that reckons a deal to buy Spurs is done. I don't think it is, but I'm pretty sure conversations have been taking place. If so, I'd say this to Daniel Levy: don't play hardball, Daniel. You might regret it, because he's also hearing that the owners of one of the top 4 clubs could be ready to sell. They're arguably a better proposition for a buyer and would tempt a bid before Spurs. Now, with that, we'll come back to the story in a minute, and we'll come back to other things. There's lots of other stories, but just in a nutshell, there, what he's saying is, he doesn't say who it is, but someone that he knows that he thinks is close to the situation is saying that it's already done. I 100% subscribe to the notion that something is happening behind the scenes. I've been saying it since the December share issue. It was just weird and wild, and the fact that there's no detail around what that looks like, what pricing, what is the pricing, why was it done, who's it done for, all of that stuff screams in the face of the non-disclosure agreement that we found out that Amanda Staveley had to sign. Staveley's obviously in charge of the consortium. The Guardian came out with a story regarding it's not QSI, it's not Sheikh Jassim, it's something going on with Qatar, and that Daniel Levy will stay on. QSI, Al Khalifi, he wants out of Paris Saint-Germain. I was saying this to you on the backstage or on the phone earlier, Johnny. Apparently, from what I've been reading in a variety of different sources, there's some notion that it's not just about the French media rights being, thrown out, not thrown out, but like basically collapsing because of the lack of money in French football, which is obviously that story is going to play out with regards transfers and assets being stripped and stuff out of the French league over the next 6 months. But more than that, apparently he has been under immense, and him and his cohort have been under immense scrutiny to the tune of apparently Pegasus, the hack that I think, not sure, but I think
see the link, Sean. I can see the link.
I've been caught up in somehow.
Paul Butler and QS and Paul Butler and QSI. The link is there.
Yeah. But the reality is that he's under a lot of pressure from various influential people around, basically political pressure in France. And so he wants out. They want to divest their interest in PSG. So there is not necessarily this particular story, but the Qataris are 100% looking for something. And Richard Keys is alluding to the idea that something's going on with Tottenham, but also there is a team within the top 4. I would imagine it's probably Liverpool that are willing to sell. And that if so, then they would be a more juicier fruit to squeeze than Tottenham would be, because of the low-hanging fruit that exists there that doesn't really exist at Tottenham. And so he's saying, basically, if there's truth, Daniel, then don't sit on your hands, mate, because it's now or never. If there's only one bidder, but there's 2 big clubs available, and the other club is a better proposition. What's your take, Johnny?
Well, I think also PSG were a bit pissed off because they tried to buy the stadium. It's state-owned, and they're limited to what they can do. They've tried everything to buy the stadium because they wanted to buy it. They wanted to develop it and make it, something spectacular. But let's be honest, the money in France is a fraction. He does. Look at
who I am, mate.
He's who he is, mate. And soon, don't worry. As soon as we're off, he's off to make make a Barbie. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The problem is with the QSI. They wanted to buy the stadium, and they said if they can't complete on the stadium, that's going to be an issue for them. The TV rights have almost collapsed. There's hardly any money in it whatsoever, and there just isn't the money. Just winning the Champions League is not enough to sustain them buying the players and the facilities that they require. So they need to look elsewhere. And let's be honest, Spurs offers everything that they would like. You know, they can build a hotel. They can have all the concerts they want. They can fly them in. People can stay over on the 30-odd floors. No doubt the top floor will be Sheikh Yazim's penthouse. They'll turn that into. So when he comes over, he can stay there or whatever it may be. But there's so many revenue streams. And there's good to meet you, David Boy. There's lots of revenue streams for them, much greater than they could ever be at PSG. I'm surprised it's taken this long, but we know.
Is it all about money? Is it all about money for them too, then,
about
Johnny?
Daniel
Or is
Levy,
it about something else?
I believe it's all about Daniel. Right? Look, when you're with Rothschilds, probably one of the biggest, the most successful private banks, one of the best merger and acquisition companies out there, and you can't find a buyer 18 months in, that was smack to me. Look, we know Todd Bowley and Clear Lake Capital looked at Spurs. He wanted to buy them out. Daniel wanted to remain on, which wasn't acceptable to Clear Lake or Todd Bowley. I won't go through the list of other people that have approached the club. I heard a story over 18 months ago that a helicopter landed at the Tottenham training centre, whether some Qataris turned up to watch training and they'd won a bid at an auction to come watch Spurs train or whatever. But, you know, I think you know, no smoke without fire. But the old adage, be careful what you wish for. But I do think as well, Sean, what we were talking about, Levy's prudence on his behalf here as a positive, his prudence with the spend would mean that if someone did come in, we do have a large window that they could actually come in and spend money without a larger proportion than what we've currently spent and still been within
especially if PSR and FF. Especially if those things are going to get unwound. I've done some sort of rudimentary maths on the back of a cigarette pack here, even though it's actually on a W.H. Smith's book.
A large bag.
3 for 5. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The truckers' cigarettes. Look, here's the way that you could, a new owner, it doesn't have to be Qatar, by the way, but for what it's worth, these things, one or two of these areas are likely not going to happen if you were to go west towards America, right? Private equity isn't going to come in and do what some of these numbers are going to suggest, but there's other things that could come in. So let's make the assumption that Tottenham, I mean, look, we spent on that, I think it's net over the last 5 years, £110 million per season, right? Since the stadium. And we're still, obviously our salary cap is our salaries have got a lot of wiggle room to grow.
Yeah.
So
that's how you get players.
And I'm using sort of ratios here. Like if you were to use Tanguy and Ndombele as an example of £60 million cost for the player and £60 million in wages over a 6-year contract, then that's a 50-50 split. But that's kind of abnormal for most players. If you were to spend, let's say, £100 million on a player and they were to ask for,
sure, this is Spurs, mate. This is Spurs.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just trying to give you an idea of the ratio. Yeah, I genuinely, I've said this. If I'll have a charitable bet of a tenner with anyone who would like to take it, that I think that Tottenham will this summer break the club's transfer record, and I think you will see a new club's highest earner before the end of the summer window. And if anyone wants to take that bet, tenner, I'll do it once just for a bit of a. We'll put it towards.
Are you suggesting Gittins is coming?
Maybe, and by the way, we have got some really cool and interesting transfers from these guys, and we are going to get to that at the end of this topic. But let's just use, for round argument's sake, 100 grand, 250 grand a week as a top earner is £12.5 million a year, right, give or take. And then if you were to pay £80 million for that player, then on a 6-year contract, 6-year contract, then it's not 50-50 in terms of the amount of money that you spend on the player versus the amount of money you spend paying the player. So let's use a 60-40 ratio in terms of what you can do with the transfers and then what you do on the wages. But just for argument's sake, if you were to get Qatar in, this is the way that where the abnormal spend can come in, where you see the things that you want to see, because otherwise, just remember, people that think if a £500 million injection of capital comes in for 8 to 12% of the business, that money cannot directly go towards transfers. It can go towards other things that can free up capital within the club to spend on transfers, but revenue towards your PSR limits.
It will go towards
hotels,
the
etc.,
hotel and the development at Whitewebs for a start.
Right. Which, if that stuff is not financed by something else, there would probably have to come from.
Yeah, we got a lot of capital heavy investments that are needed for sure. But just to say, can I just add to this, right? This argument. It doesn't look. You could have someone come in with all the money in the world and do a Man United and spend 80 million on Anthony or 60 million on Jadon Sancho, or I could go on of the money that's been wasted at Man United. What I would say is Spurs have not been in the business since Gareth Bale was probably the last player that, Harry Kane were the last probably two players that we've sold at a big profit. And what I would say to you is clever recruitment.
Don't forget Stephen Berghvall.
Right, yeah. I mean, what I would say to you is...
£2 million profit on that.
Yeah, 2 million, right? Look, what I would say is, right, I believe that our recruitment, what we're doing now with the youth, is the way forward. And it is a master plan that will pay off because all these players that we're playing 12 million and 15 million for, that is the way forward. When you then, if they don't make it at the club or whatever happens, that we're selling them for a profit. I mean, Micky Van der Ven.
How many of the players in the current squad? Sorry, Johnny. Sorry, mate. I'm interrupting. How many players in the current squad?
Right. Well, I'll tell you. Pape Matar Sarr, we bought for 12 million. We would get a considerably more.
You'd make a profit on him.
Destiny, we bought for 15 million. We'll be getting a lot of profit from that.
Romero,
Micky Van der Ven. We'll definitely
transfer news on him. We're going to come to as well, guys.
Cuti Romero. I still think we'll make a profit, even though we paid a lot of money for him.
Porro,
Jed Spence, right? 14 million euros with add-ons, right? Had it been up to Ange and we'd sold him a while back, we would get 6 to 8 million and lost money. But
now you get a lot of money from.
I reckon, the way he's going now, he can't get an England call up, and suddenly your 8 million is 30 million plus, right?
I wouldn't sell it for 30 million quid right now. I think
no, I wouldn't either. But I'm just saying, I'm just trying to be realistic.
Yeah, no, exactly. And you look forward, like Lucas Berghvall, you make a profit on him. The only players in fact, it's easy to name the players you wouldn't make a profit on. You wouldn't make a profit on Bissouma. You wouldn't make a profit on Richalison, 100%. You wouldn't make a profit on Sonny. You wouldn't make a profit on Brennan Johnson, I would say. But apart from that, Dominic Solanke, probably not either. Maybe not. I don't know. But everybody at Vicario, probably, right? Everyone we've bought recently, I think if you were to sell them all right now, under normal market forces, I think you would make a profit in all of them. And like you said, mate, only 3 players.
Don Fabio. You need to bring him back. Bring back the Don, and let's get this show back on the road. I mean, the amount of recruitment we've done for our academy. I've been going on about this for the last 2.5 years now, about our recruitment of 15 to 19-year-olds for the future, so that we produce a conveyor belt of talent, which will enable us, like you said, Sean, to buy. Can you imagine when you're producing 5 or 6 top players, then you only need to spend. Then you can go out and spend 100 million or 90 million on one player, because you don't need 7 positions or 8 positions. And I think, look at Chelsea, the funding. I'm not saying how they are as a club, but I'm saying, look how many players they have sold for 30 million, 40 million, 50 million, that have come through their academy. They've not all been bought through the academy. A lot of them have been bought in and sold on at a later date. And that's a massive part of the finance in the club, which has been mismanaged by Levy and by Steve Hitchin and the likes. And we finally got someone in Don Fabio, who was buying and recruiting players. I mean, look how much we paid for Decky. Look how much we paid for Bentancur. We paid about 16 million for Bentancur. We paid 35 million for. I'm just saying. I think 35.
Paratici is also. That's not. I mean, I'm not going to. I'm not going to disagree with you. I like Paratici, I really do. But let's not pretend like everything he touched
No,
turned to
but
gold because he
nothing
made
will
mistakes
always
along the way.
be. Doesn't matter if you're the greatest, director of football. You're not gonna get them all wrong. But on the whole, in comparison to how we've done business over the last 10 years, this is on another level, because now we've got players. Look, we had to give away. Look how much deadwood we had to chuck away that we couldn't get 2 bob for, or we lost money on. Okay, it's been going on for far too long. And, it's an important part that should QSI or QIA or, whoever comes in, that they spend the money wisely, that we don't go down the road of a Manchester United or Chelsea, where it's a scattergun approach and buying anyone, like I always use the word Carlos.
But that's the problem though, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the recruitment.
It's this idea of spending money. It's not a problem at Tottenham, right? It's taken us a while to get to the position where the stadium is providing the funds, but it has done. It's how you spend it. And if you look elsewhere where there's been profligate spend, Manchester, this is, to coin Gary Neville's phrase, this is Manchester United. It's Manchester United, right? Like, they can't do anything. They have to sell their best 3 young players in the summer to be able to give Amorim any chance of building the squad that he wants. I do just want to finish off the point around where nothing changes, right?
Yeah, go on. I'm just going to finish one there. I mean, look, just for Spurs fans upset, we sell Harry Kane and we spend £47 million on Brennan Johnson, right? 47 on Brennan Johnson,
and 12 million more than we should have paid, right? Because
12 million, because that's what Brentford, 35 million is what Forest agreed with Brentford, and he didn't want to go there. And yet, Ange said, this is the player we want. Look, I'm not going to sit here and not Brenda, but £47 million, come on, right? He ain't £47 million. I don't care what anyone says, right? That's
this is the thing, though. In play, I don't know if you guys saw. By the way, shout out to Ian Meth and to Adrian and whoever else is on that show as a mainstay. They got Kieran Maguire on last night at 8 p.m. Go and check it out if you haven't already. Really great chat about why he does what he does, how he does it, and also he gave some really good insights. And he was talking about how football got out of control, and he was saying that whilst football owners have their revenues have increased 2,600 or 2,700%, I think he said, over the last 25 years, the wages have gone up 3,500%. Right, so the inflation in football is real. The players are the ones that are benefiting more than anybody else, and obviously their agents and stuff. And so you can make the kind of argument there of like, where's the incentive to get in? If in the case of like Aston Villa, 96% of your revenue is going towards the area of football that has a higher inflation by 1,000% than the revenue streams that rightly have gone up ridiculous amounts as well. And that's worth calling out. But this notion that it's a profitable business for so many chairmen, it's really not true. So you have to look in other directions. And that's why I always stay true to this notion until I'm 10 feet underground, 6 feet under, that it's not just anyone but him will do. Because I think Daniel Levy has been organic in his approach. And I think he is wildly misrepresented by some people that don't choose to want to look into the things that are influential. Like I said, you don't have to be interested in finance to believe that they don't have an influence. It might be something that you want to put your fingers in your ears and your hands over your eyes and say, I don't care. All I care about is the football. That doesn't mean that finance in football is not playing a massive part, a significant part in the conversation. But just to get back to the idea of what the Qataris could do that would elevate the ability to spend, because the £500 million in and of itself can't be. It's not how it works. The rules are the rules at the moment, at least. But with regards how we could raise that ability to spend what we currently do, which is £100 million give or take a season, Johnny, then there's obviously these factors here, these elephants in the room that would be meaningful. So first of all, if they were to buy into the stadium, 100% takeover, they could pay off the debt, right? Which saves you £30 million in interest payments.
Huge.
In terms of revenue per year. Naming rights deals. Now, obviously, Daniel Levy's been holding out for £25 million a year, which would put him up there with the likes of Real Madrid. Barcelona aren't even there with their Spotify deal. But with the rolling back of the APT, if you were to get ambitious owners that don't have the same relationship with money and profit like many of the Western contingent would do, like a Qatar Airways that do, or Qatar that do have the Qatar Airways, but obviously is where the logical B2C business to consumer facing global brand would come from.
Subsidiary companies of QIA or QSI. QIA is bigger than QSI.
Yes,
QSI,
the investment authority.
Yeah. QIA is the umbrella and QSI is part of QIA. QIA is a massive, absolutely huge. QSI is the sporting division of QIA. But so what we're saying here is, should QSI come in and take over, a subsidiary company of QIA could easily come in and say, well, we're a different company. Right, but you're not, right? And we're going to sponsor the stadium, and instead of, paying, we're going to pay a world record sponsorship fee of £35 million a year, right? To give us an edge.
And traditionally, the naming rights deal, and it doesn't have to be naming rights, by the way. It could be, shirt sponsors. It could be there's anything. A never-ending stream of things. Tottenham have got Ineos, right? Tottenham. It was so funny. I heard Mark Goldbridge referencing this. Tottenham have got Ineos sponsoring the bench, the seats on the bench at Tottenham. And Ineos is obviously Sir Jim Ratcliffe's chemical company that is 28%, I think it is, owner of Manchester United. But they haven't sponsored Manchester United in any way yet. And so, according to Mark Goldbridge, I don't know if this is true, but Tottenham apparently make £5 million a year in revenue from the Ineos deal. Despite them sponsoring Tottenham, they don't offer the same thing to their overall owners, and that money in the eyes of Mark Goldbridge, I'm not sure if he's saying that from a place of knowledge or supposition, but essentially that's the difference between why Matisse Tell joined us rather than them. So you've got the naming rights deal that could be 25 million, which is what Daniel Levy wanted, which would have fallen into previous APT rule jurisdictions, but with APT being deemed unlawful, you've now got the wiggle room to put that number far higher.
Explain what APT is to those that might not know it.
Associated party transactions, right? So it's what Johnny was talking about then. It's basically if you have an owner that has a finger in a number of pies, then the APT rules essentially were put into place to stop the Etihad Airways group, who are obviously part of Abu Dhabi and Manchester City, having abnormally high levels of sponsorship revenue from companies that are associated to the
way over the odds. Yeah.
So they wanted in 2023 to basically sponsor Manchester City's stadium for significant numbers that were higher than any other sponsorship deal that's out there. And the Premier League said no. And the whole reason this whole thing fell apart is because initially Manchester City said, well, whilst we're figuring out whether that's legal and lawful, we're not sure it is. Let's at least hold your feet to the fire for the same level of, TikTok live stream. Can you go away with your spam? They said, well, if you're going to do that, then you also have to do the same thing when it comes to debt-free loans from owners that don't have necessarily the ability to jump from one, business to another with your investments, but you're happy to just give your club £100 million at zero interest rates or near zero. Obviously, that's not allowed either under the APT rules. But because of what Manchester City fought and won, all of that stuff is now being reversed. And so essentially, to get back to Tottenham, if Qatar or anyone else was to come in, they could technically now sponsor the stadium for more than just the highest ceiling of what the Premier League deemed to be reasonable and fair. Obviously, there's also other things that they can do for the money. If they not only wanted to pay off the debt, but if they also wanted to fully fund the hotels and other infrastructure, then all of the revenues that those hotels and other things will generate can go into the club. And maybe another £10 million a year, for example.
And then we could sell the hotel back to yourself. Ourselves.
Yeah, and then lease it back, right? And then you've got sponsorship, other sponsorship deals. I was just talking about Ineos doing just the chair, the seats in the dugout. There's obviously a million things that you can sponsor if you really want to strip it and get very specific. You can sponsor the shorts, you can sponsor the socks, you can sponsor the pitch. Why not put a giant painted pitch, a picture of Qatar like you see on TV with cricket? You see it with cricket all the time, right? Yeah. Why not do that? Then you've got more events at the stadium. Now, that's not something that Daniel Levy wouldn't benefit from. Or most of these things are not something that Daniel Levy couldn't benefit from if he wanted to. They've already raised the amount of non-match day events. They've doubled it. But you could foresee something changing in that regard in the future as well. And like I say, if you were to then use a 60-40 ratio, Johnny, just last thing I'll say, and I'll bring you back in. of where that looks like in terms of the ability to raise the raise the wages paid and the various other performance-based bonuses and the transfer spend, then given what you already can do, and then adding these things in, that I think can add up to about another £120 million a year. So you could see on a 3-year rolling period, transfer budgets going towards 200 million. If all that stuff was baked in, if all of it came true the way we've just, dream world scenario. And then obviously with that, the revenue being so much higher, even with a 70% threshold cap, you could see Tottenham, break through the wage ceiling to ridiculous levels.
That though, Sean, to add to that, I know we've got 50 Cent coming, but I think, we wouldn't any longer be called 42%. Because I think, the Qataris would be coming in and they would be up in that 42% to a very lively, probably 75%. Because let's be honest, I think, it was a great show, Ian. I've watched part of it.
Go and watch it, guys. Fantastic show.
I actually crashed out last night, but I'll be watching the rest of it. It was a great coup by Ian.
Really good guy as well.
Unfortunately, he's a Celtic fan, but never mind. Spurs and Celtic.
Brighton fan as well. Yeah.
Spurs and Celtic. I'm Spurs.
Oh, Ian. Sorry, Ian's a Celtic.
Yeah,
fan.
Ian's a Spurs. Spurs and Celtic. I'm Spurs and Rangers, but he's a lovely fella. Good show, guys. So I think they would up the percentage of the spend. But let's go on.
And obviously we can do a lot of that stuff anyway, right? Like, so Daniel Levy is capable of doing a lot of that stuff anyway. The problem is that he doesn't have a direct relationship. Even if you go through Tavistock's umbrella of businesses,
about 200
most of
companies.
them, but most of them are not global.
Yeah.
I always say this, right? If you're looking for a stadium sponsor, it needs to be very specific in as much as it's B2C, so business to consumer, like an airline company is, and also global in its reach. And there's not that many companies out there that A, would benefit from the branding, B, would tick the boxes of the relevance, and C, are willing to pay the money. But if you happen to be an owner with a sort of a relationship with money that isn't about profit necessarily in the short term, and you're trying to cleanse reputations or whatever else you're trying to do, then, Qatar, Kuwait, those sorts of areas of the world might be a better fit. But as I say, Johnny, if it's not them, go on. Sorry, mate.
Can I just say, we could have a situation like the Cronkies, with Arsenal, where you lend the club money with no interest in actually getting it back.
Until recently, that wasn't allowed, right? Now it's still not allowed, but it might be.
Yeah, but it might be allowed.
It might be allowed. We don't know, do we? We don't know anymore.
Yeah, they could lend Spurs a couple of, 400 or 500 million, on the never. But look, the thing is, Daniel Levy, for a fact, does not have the money for the capital-intensive projects, i.e., the hotel, the development of the, of White Webs, the building of the ladies' stadium, the NFL training facilities, the enlarged medical facilities, because we're actually waking up and seeing that, hello, we might need to spend some money on a medical centre. Imagine that. You buy hundreds of millions of pounds worth of talent and you have vets dealing with them. I mean, listen, we should have the finest doctors and medical teams from around the world. It should be matched. If you're trying to buy the best players in the world, my mindset is you should be trying to get the best medical, the best scientific sports scientists in the world.
It feels like everything's perfect from 10,000 feet, but when you get down to into the minutiae, you see a lot of inadequacies within Tottenham's ecosystem, right? It looks great. It's like New York City. No disrespect to the Americans that might be watching, but I lived in New York. The best part about New York for me was as you're coming into land and you get to see the 3D of all of the skyscrapers. But when you get down to the bottom, when you're on the street, all you see is concrete everywhere, right? So and at Tottenham, you see you've got the best stadium, you've got the best training facilities, you've got all of this wonderful stuff. But when you get in there and you find out that like you say, you've got Mickey Mouse as Dr. Tottenham.
The gym's not big enough. Oh, we need a bigger gym. Well, sorry, hang on, right? That should be the gym, the medical.
Is the gym not big enough, really? Who's saying that? I didn't hear that.
They need to make the gym bigger. Yeah. I'm being serious. I'm being serious.
Okay.
Right, okay.
Jesus
The
Christ.
gym needs to be improved. You know, we didn't have a cryo chamber up until when Conte came. Cryotherapy chamber. They're very expensive, but who gives a damn?
How expensive are they really though? How expensive?
Well,
are we talking 100 grand, or are we talking like 10 million?
Well,
what are we talking
I don't
about?
know. I don't know exactly how they are, but I know they're not cheap. But my point is that all the things that we are looking to do with our new planning application. Listen, we've been talking about this extension since 2021. We're now in 2025. We could have done with these facilities now, 2 or 3 years ago. It feels a bit like after the horse is bolted. Let's move on because I haven't got much longer.
Yeah, no, we haven't got long. So
let's go on
we've got
to
quite a
Micky
few.
Van
So we'll part the stories regarding the sort
I've
of
got a bit longer actually, Shawnee. I've just got a message. I've just got.
We'll keep going. We'll keep going until we can't any longer. Loads to talk about, guys. Actually, I better get that out of the way because I don't want to get
that gone.
demonetized. Let's start with we'll park the Qatari stuff for now. But like I say, guys, they're on paper. Just to summarize, on paper, Richard Keys has said he's heard from a guy that he knows that the deal is done. Now, apologies if you're not happy with the apologies if you're not happy with the thumbnail title, but listen, I'm not lying. I'm just putting it out there. But I'm a clickbait merchant. I'm not ashamed to say it.
Hang on a second.
Come for the title, stay for the content.
Yeah, but hang on. Let's add to this, right? He works for Bain Sports, right? He's in the Middle East. They associate with all the big players of the Middle East, and they hear stories, right? They're right in the heart of it. So it's not like Dave from Dagenham, who's heard a story from his mate down the pub who worked for a Qatari fixing his sink, right?
Exactly. It's not. I mean, look, Richard Keys is a bit of a donor, but at the same time, there's enough in there. There's nothing there to put the title up, and hopefully we tuned it over. He's also said that it's not just Tottenham that are up for sale, potentially that one of the other big four clubs are, and so Daniel Levy, if he's serious and if they can get the deal done, don't want to rest on your laurels because there's other clubs that are potentially looking to cash in. So we'll leave that there. Like I say, though, guys, on paper, if 500 million was to come in, don't expect things to change unless there's a meaningfully decent appetite for some of those things that we've just gone through.
Don't worry about that. I'm fully confident that if the Qataris come in, suddenly we would be spending more money. I have no doubt whatsoever. And I will be booking into the Martin Chivers room for my first night, overlooking the stadium and the Tottenham High Road. Fantastic! Can't wait.
But listen, I know it's a difficult one, and I've seen a lot of comments in the chat that are sort of participating in politics. I'm sorry to bring it up. I don't want to bring these things up. I know they're awkward, but it's a meaningful and necessary conversation, and it might invoke, arguments or whatever between people.
I set them off, have I?
No, not you. No. I'm just saying, we're talking about Qatar, right? And so I mentioned it on the videos I did when I was walking with the protesters, and the comment sections of those videos were filled with, I don't want Qatar, or I don't care, Qatar's fine with me. It is, if you don't want Qatar, it's
divisive.
Because of,
it is divisive.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
You had America, if you had America or Mr. Wong from China or from South Korea or whatever.
They all come with their own complications. There's no clean billionaires. And there's no clean stories, and we'll chew them over. And if you don't like the appreciate the raid, Saba, good to see you, mate. If the story goes in a certain direction, I'm not afraid to have those conversations on this channel. I don't care if people don't like the things that are said. It is what it is, and people are going to have their. I haven't got a dog in the fight of Israel versus Hamas. I'm not Jewish, and nor do I, have any relationship with Israel, nor am I Islamic or anything else. So
anyway.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, we're not going to shy away from the conversation because it's complex and awkward. That's not what we're up to. Smash the like button, smash the subscribe. Get over to Football Inc, guys. The link is in the description. I don't know which one you're watching this via, but get over to Football Inc and hit the subscribe as well, because Johnny and I are doing a joint venture over there. And if you like Johnny,
we need the support at Football Inc, guys. Subscribe. It doesn't cost any money. It's just it will alert you when we're doing a video. And Sean and I will be doing lots of football-related stuff. So if you like football, not just Spurs, we'll be doing stuff about everything that's going on, from VAR, referees,
VAR to PSR, and everything in between.
One of my pet ones, which I want to talk to Sean about, is how much time we actually play or watch football. Like, I mean, actually, the ball
especially
is
when you're
in
playing
play.
Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at like, I think it's down to now less than 60 minutes.
Right. I
of
think
actual
didn't we lose to Newcastle last season, and it was
50 something minutes, 55
it was the
minutes.
lowest ever recorded game ball in play match
Yeah.
ever. I think it was obscene. Anyway, we'll
Short
do that stuff on
games.
Football Inc.
Yeah,
100%. So get over there, guys, and make sure you hit the subscribe because it's Johnny needs to be. It's like I say, Johnny's been a brilliant servant on this channel, and I want him to have his own thing as well. And that's what we're doing on Football Inc. Johnny, I've got to move this story forward, though, mate, because we do have a lot of stuff to go through. First and foremost, bit of a merry-go-round on the Liverpool replacing Virgil van Disney story, and also Bournemouth, Dean Huijson, their amazing 19-year-old centre-back who's two-footed, as good on his right as his left, 6'4", 19 years old. Just absolutely incredible what this guy has become over this season. And he is touted. He's just signed a new contract. And according to Fabrizio Romano, £50 million release clause was inserted, which isn't a lot of money.
Yeah.
Great value. And Liverpool basically are sniffing around him in the pursuit of the future. But their top of their wish list, according to reports, is Micky van de Ven. Obviously, they bought a lot of V's for the shirt naming, and if Van Dijk's out the way, they need to bring in someone to make sure that those V's are useful. What do you think, mate? Look, apparently Tottenham are also interested in Dean Huijson, not to replace Van de Ven, but to supplement him because he can only get 40, 50 minutes on the pitch. According to the reports, Daniel Levy has absolutely no intention of selling Van de Ven unless it's absolutely ludicrous money. I'll hand over to you, mate. What does that ludicrous number look like? Also, is there a rationale where if it is a ludicrous number, I know this is going to upset some fans, but given the fact that the guy's got cheese strings where his hamstrings should be, if silly money came in, would you be on board, like, thinking about something there and then going after a Huijson? I don't know. I love Micky. I hope he gets back and stays fit, but at the moment, having him around and playing 50% means you have to go big in the summer anyway for a Mark Gahey. And by the way, sorry, last thing I'll say, Mark Gahey is the other name on Liverpool's shortlist. So 3 names: Van de Ven, Huijson, Gahey, all names that Tottenham are interested in either keeping or buying.
Listen, for me, it very much will depend on who the manager is, the system we play. Right now, for this system, Micky van de Ven is indispensable. If Angie's here for next season, because of the high line, but a massive negative, and you cannot hide the fact, is his layoffs for hamstrings. He had it at Wolfsburg, he's had it twice already. With us, he's had it twice this season, he had it last season, so that's 4 injuries in the space of, well,
at Tottenham, 4 at Tottenham, and he had a big one before he came, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's 3 at Spurs, isn't it? 3 at Spurs.
Spurs and 1
3
at
Spurs and 1 at Wolfsburg. But my point is, you need to be fit to play. It's no point having him on the bench. Look, we got to look at it that are Liverpool looking at him? They've had a Dutch legend leading them. And will they replace him with another potential Dutch legend? But I'm not 100% convinced. Virgil van Dijk is fantastic in the air. And in a traditional system, he's better than Micky van de Ven, without any question of doubt, for me.
For sure.
Because Micky's weakness is in the air at the moment, which is surprising for someone who's 6'4".
He's not great. He's not great in the air. I don't really remember him doing too much in the way of aerial defensive work.
No, he's not brilliant in the air. So every player has a price. We've also got to look at the fact that the rumours, the Cuti Romero leaves. Could we be in a situation? I can't see Spurs allowing both Cuti Romero and Micky van de Ven to be sold. But could you imagine? They would both be 80 million plus to be sold. And, if you did get that money and you could replace them with a Mark Gahey and some Huijson sauce, then maybe that's a road worth going down. And Dave from the Irish Hotspur is absolutely spot on. We could have another Ryan Sessegnon on our hands.
It feels like it, right? Obviously, I think I did the calculation last season, Johnny. I think I double checked how much he got paid per week and how many minutes he's played for Tottenham, and I'm pretty sure there was only one player that was getting paid more per minute played for Tottenham than Ryan Sessegnon, and that was Tanguy Ndombele. Right, that's the amount of minutes. I think he was getting paid 60 grand a week on a 6-year deal, and he played the grand total of about half a season's worth of football for Tottenham.
So look, the thing is here, right? The best ability is availability. It's the oldest one in the book, and he's not available. And he has been missing for far too many games over the last 2 seasons. We all know how good he is. No one's questioning that. He's not the finished article. He still needs to add to his game. And is there a better defender out there? I believe there is. And if someone wants to come in and spend 70, 80... Well, if Liverpool want to take the risk and buying him, and we have a ready-made replacement, if we're going to act like Paul,
but don't you need two? You need even right now, Tottenham needs to go and get another centre back of left-hand side quality.
But we need one now, Sean.
That's what I mean, right? Yeah, but you can't just go and get in someone. No disrespect, I think he's been brilliant since he come in. Like Kevin can go into the first name on the team sheet right now for me in terms of centre backs. I thought he was sensational against United.
He's very good, but
Tottenham needs someone to go. Like we need to go bigger because Micky van der Ven is not 100% minutes guy, is he?
Yeah, but Sean, I don't want to hear the crap. Already. Kevin Danso is better than Cuti Romero. I mean, come on, guys, give me a break, right? I know the feeling out there. No, I'm not saying you did, but there's a lot out there that are saying it. We can sell Cuti. Danso's much better. I think people forget. Yeah, I understand the animosity towards Cuti for for the Argentina thing and what have you. But we signed Cuti from Italy with a condition. He has a muscle condition that needs to be, needs to be managed. And, Cuti, what people don't understand is South American culture. Your country is bigger than any club. Okay. So playing for Argentina, playing for Brazil is bigger than playing for Real Madrid, even Real Madrid. So I know we don't see that because here is very much club first, country second. I get that, but
yeah, cultural.
It's a cultural thing. But look, if we have to roll the dice, I'm ready to roll the dice. I'm ready to roll the dice. If someone,
who would you sell first?
Who wanted to go first? If Cuti's look, I love Cuti Romero because he's a winner. He hates losing, right? And I know sometimes that exuberance he goes over the top, but I love that Roy Keane. And you and I have spoken. I'd actually love to see Cuti Romero play as a 6. He'd be an absolute destroyer in the middle of that park. I really do believe that. I mean, but I don't think it will ever see it, just the same as we'll never see Pedro Porro as a right winger with Jed Spence tucked in at right back.
Do you think, though, Johnny, does Archie Gray, as much as I absolutely adore this kid, does he have the personality to be a monster 6?
He might be quiet and a nice kid. He's 18. But his family DNA is built on steel, right?
Yeah.
Frank Gray, Eddie Gray, they ain't shirkers, right? There's a steel in that DNA. So don't be fooled by the smiley face and the
he's
curly
assassin,
hair.
You're saying he's a smiley face assassin.
I'd say, listen, he's got great feet. For me, I think we will sell one. Which one? I don't know. But listen, we should have bought Pierre Nkape. He can play left back and he can play left centre back. For me, that's an upgrade. I don't want to hear this backup crap. right? I hate the word backup. There should be no such word as backup. This is a squad-based game now, and it should be competitive. A competitor for left back, a competitor for left centre back. No one should have the God-given right to come in. So if Kuti was to go, and we bought in Huijson sauce, fantastic. Yeah. Or if we were to sell Micky,
I can already imagine Irish Hotspur Dave. Shout out to you, Dave. By the way, you need to get you back on. I need to come on yours as well.
Mate, looking saucy, man. I mean, listen, look,
you know, he's the king. Him and Jack are the king of nicknames, right? Like Sauceberg, Zinedine de Sauce, whatever it was. You know, they're going to be calling Dean Huijson sauce.
Huijson sauce, right? Listen, look, all I know is that, you know, the kid only got into the team. This is how circumstances can dominate and dictate a career. He only got in because the Argentinian boy got injured. He was forced to come in for that game. And on his debut, what did he do? He headed the ball in the back of the net, instant hero, and a star was born. So, you know, things can happen. Just the same as Jed Spence wouldn't have been getting a game had we not had an injury crisis, and a star would not have been born like he is now.
100%, Johnny. Listen, we'll part the Dean Huijson story. There's obviously going to be a moving pieces. Liverpool looking for a replacement, and 3 names. I'm okay with keeping Micky, of course. I'm also okay with Mark Gahey and Huijson as well.
I used to think Gahey, just to add on there, when I saw him play as a youngster, I thought he reminded me of a young Ledley King. I think he's a quality centre back. You know, he's right.
I initially thought he was really clumsy. I remember Tottenham beat Palace 2-0 in a game a couple of years ago, and I thought he had an absolute stinker. And then, I'm clearly wrong on it, and I'm adjusting my take now as I've seen more of him. But at the time, I was like, I don't really get the hype. But look, he's becoming a solid player, and he's, as someone said in the comments there a minute ago, I think it was Dave again. He said, "Guy seems really grounded when he does England interviews." Just quickly, super chat from Blaine. Big up, Blaine. Hope you're okay, my man. Get Bugsy some silk-scented doggy bags for the park. Big up, gents. Johnny, I'm disappointed in the tan. Was expecting the bronze Adonis.
Yeah, listen, look,
most of his time with his looking after.
Listen, when you're in the bloody hospital, mate, and you're pushing people along corridors and running backwards and forwards. I think I went brown and then I came back, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, listen, shout out to you, Lynn. Behind every great man is a superb woman. And if you are listening, Lynn, in the background, then I hope you get better soon. And I hope those injections aren't too painful. Johnny, let's move on to the next story, my man. Jobe Bellingham.
What a player.
Obviously brother of Jude, plays for Sunderland, and Tottenham are apparently fighting it out with Crystal Palace. I did a story about this the other day. Crystal Palace weren't mentioned, but I kind of put 2 and 2 together and said, because Tottenham are also interested in Adam Wharton. And Adam Wharton obviously went from Blackburn, I think it was, to Palace. He's had a wonderful breakout season and top-notch young kid. And look, I don't mind either of them coming in, but the amount of money that's touted for Jobe Bellingham is similar to the amount of money that Adam Wharton's going to cost you. They're both going to cost you eye-watering numbers for players that are young. Jobe Bellingham hasn't done it at the top level yet, but neither had Archie Gray, and Archie Gray's been neither had Lucas Berghvall. But look, Berghvall's taken to the Premier League like a duck to water. So, I mean, of the two, first and foremost, Jobe Bellingham, the links look meaningful. The links do look, and also the Sunderland. I'm not sure if it's Sunderland owner or someone there said, "Look, we are going to probably have to sell him, in the summer." So that he was trying to prep the fans there for a bit of a heartbreak. But I don't know how closely you've seen him before, mate. I've watched him in mainly highlights and stuff, but he looks fantastic. He's such a big fella. Athleticism. I don't know what he's better at. His defensive work off the ball is phenomenal. His ability to spray and play, to gallop with it like a marauding horse. Looks like a brilliant player. So does Adam. I like Adam Wharton though as well. So I'm happy with either if either of the stories are true.
Yeah.
What's your take?
So interestingly,
and thank you, Blaine, by the way. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Jobe Bellingham. We tried to sign him. Fun enough, we were very interested in Jobe when he left Birmingham. But listen, the family are very astute. His dad's a policeman. And they're quite grounded. Yeah, they're quite grounded. I was quite surprised at Jude Bellingham's performance, getting sent off and the abuse at the Real Madrid game, because he's always been quite disciplined. But Joe,
have they got a third son called Bobby then? If his dad's a policeman,
I'm not sure. Very good.
Sorry, that's a bad joke.
But Job, I think he went to from Birmingham to Sunderland for, I think it was about 1.5 million. Nothing big, but obviously big sell-on fee. Spurs were interested, but the family wanted to make sure he got game time, and we all know, had he gone to Spurs, he'd be playing in the under-21s, whereas he's playing every week for Sunderland. I'm not sure. I think he's got something like 5 or 6 goals, 3 or 4 assists, something like that. And he is what I would class a top player. He's got it all. I mean, he's very flexible between being an attacking midfielder and a defensive midfielder. He's got a lot. I mean, he's only 19 years of age, but I would take him in a heartbeat. The thing is he going to play? This is the thing. It's all very well buying players, but are they going to get game time? And I spoke about before about not using the word backup, but we need competition. If you're going to be in Europe, you need competition. We don't want another season like last season where we only played 41 games, where Ange was complaining, we've only got 1 game a week. We've only got 41 games, and we still couldn't cope with all our injuries. So interesting thing. So I would definitely be interested in him. As for Adam Wharton, it's quite interesting because I was a massive fan of Archie Gray last season, and I wanted Spurs to sign him. This was going back to sort of November, early December time. And I was told that Leeds were wanting sort of around 50 million plus Joe Rodon. And I thought, well, that deal's never going to happen. So I said, well, Spurs should go for Adam Wharton at Blackburn, who I really, really liked. And he went to Palace. Dougie Freeman is a astute director of football. He's made some fantastic purchases over the years. And
decent owners as well, by the way. Decent owners, and don't forget.
He's hard to deal with. He's hard to deal with, that guy. Anyway, my point is here that Adam Wharton exceeded my expectation because I thought he was a very good player, but I thought for Blackburn, but I thought he might need some adjustment. And not only did he not need adjustment, he ended up going into the England squad. And I think a lot of Crystal Palace's poor start to the season was due to the fact that Adam Wharton was, in fact, injured. He's come back now. I know they got beaten on the weekend, but on the whole, I think he's a very good player. I'm just trying to see, Sean, which position is more important. And for me, as much as I love Adam Wharton, I'm wondering whether Joe Bellingham would be a better fit due to his flexibility in being able to play as a defensive 6, as a box-to-box, and as a goal scorer. I think he's got more of an all-round game, maybe than Adam Wharton, who I do really rate. I've got to be honest. So I would be happy with either of them, but for me, I don't want to just buy a player and stockpile them like Chelsea do in a yard somewhere. I want them to be, getting minutes. So for me, Joe Bellingham would be the one.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I'm not sure what his position is, but he's like a bigger, stronger, strapping version of like a bit Pape Sarr-esque in as much as I don't know where Pape Sarr's right position is. Right, he's good off the bench when against tired legs, but in this specific system that sometimes inverts the fullback, so you don't need a 6, and other times goes wider, overlapping fullbacks, and then you don't have a 6 at all. I find it's just a bit of an enigma to know what is it we're looking for. Now, is Archie Gray the 6? The only reason I asked the question around does he have the temperament?
Ange doesn't play a 6. That's the bloody issue.
That's what I'm saying. But Ange doesn't play a 6 because he's got fullbacks that sort of somewhat do that job at times for him. But actually, a lot of the time when we're doing these high, this like halfway line stuff, you see Pedro Porro more advanced than Decky at times. Like it's a little bit odd, right? But for me, I think that Adam Wharton is a more naturally easier player to fit in as a profile into this current system. But then, of course, we don't even know. You're buying Joe Bellingham on a 6-year deal probably. And I don't care how much you love Ange, and there's no manager that's going to be at Tottenham now that's still going to be here in 6 years unless something like completely atypical happens, which isn't going to happen. So you're thinking about the next as much as you are the now with the managerial philosophy. And as long as this guy, whoever the guy is after the guy, dials it back a little bit, has a little bit more sort of suitability and versatility within the tactics. It's interesting that Ange, as much as I think he has changed things a little bit recently, generally speaking, but someone who likes so much versatility in his squad, he doesn't have too much versatility in his tactics. But for me, I just think Adam Wharton is probably a more natural fit. But I like Joe Bellingham. For me, is far more exciting as a prospect, because if he can be half as good as his brother, then you've got someone in there that's going to be insane. But you're going to pay for it, and you don't know what you're getting at this particular level.
Well, I think the thing is here is you're getting a multi-dimensional player. I mean, I'm a massive Adam Wharton fan. I made that very clear.
Same.
I would have been happy if we'd have signed him last January, and I was really upset that Palace went and paid the 25 million. And like I said, Dougie Freeman's smart. You're buying him for 25, they're going to end up selling him for 45, 50. That's smart.
Possibly
business.
More.
And that's what when we were rolling back. I mean, going back to Qatar, whoever.
Would you pay 50 million quid for Adam Wharton right now?
No. Would
you pay 50 million for Joe Bellingham right now?
I would be more inclined to go down that route, only from the point of view, as I said, he's a multi-dimensional player. He can play the 6. He's very good going forward. I mean, they lost last night to Leeds, 2 late Leeds goals.
They're coming up, aren't they? They look sensational.
Yeah, they look like they're coming up. All those people that said Mala Solomon is too Bob. Again, another shrewd acquisition by the club.
Listen, that player's not a conversation for today, Johnny, but it's a conversation for very soon, because he'll be back at Tottenham. And if there was Qatari ownership,
no, I don't mean that. Look, it's look, forget that one. My point here is it's shrewd. It was a shrewd purchase again, because he is. We bought him for free.
Yeah,
we bought him for free.
Daniel Lee, you playing the game, Johnny, playing the game,
Well, no, I'm just saying, it's all very well and good spending money, but it's spending money on the right players,
right.
Spending 60, I don't think spending 65 million on Dom Solanke and 47 million on Brennan Johnson was best money well spent,
No, definitely not.
So
time has proven that. Although, to be entirely honest, I'm not a massive fan of Brennan Johnson. As you know, I think
I'd rather have Gyökeres for his age, right? Well,
you're not going to get him though.
No, but for an extra 5-10 million, that's where Qatari money makes a difference, because you pay the wages, Shawnee. 42.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that, guys. I do want to play the ones and zeros game on this one. Let's just use 50 million as the example price. 1, if you'd rather have Adam Wharton. 0, if you'd rather have Bellingham. 2, if you'd rather someone else within that same kind of ballpark of like a bit of an all-rounder, an 8/6. 1's for Wharton, 0's for Bellingham. If you've got another name in there, then put in 2 and then a hyphen and then the name you'd like to see. And we're going to move on now, because I know Johnny's got to go in a second. How much time have you got, Johnny?
About another 15. I'll need a toilet break before. We are Tottenham TV. The boys invited me on for the panel show today. Very nice of them.
Jamie Gittins, €102 million.
80 million pounds, I was told.
80 million, about that. Yeah, €102 million. That's his asking price. 20 years old, England under 19 international, 113 games at 19 years old for Dortmund. 28 goals, 19 assists. So we're talking nearly 1 in 2. Plays off the left, can play off the right. England, homegrown, all that stuff. I think he counts as homegrown. Pretty sure he would do. Brilliant player, Johnny. And Tottenham apparently is still looking to get that kind of left wing future under wraps. Obviously, we've seen Yang put in a lovely little debut for QPR recently. We got Mano Solomon. Obviously, to think about. We've got Odebear as well, who was pretty handy when he came on for those last 4
Jamie Donnelly.
minutes. And obviously Jamie Donnelly as well. So a lot of potential in our ranks to come in and take over the baton from Sonny, but no one that's proven it, no one that's ready necessarily. Jamie Gitten's obviously a player that's on a lot of the aggregators, a lot of the links list. What do you make of that? £102 million? That would be a record signing for Tottenham. Do you see it happening?
No.
No?
No, because I think
liked by, for what it's worth, liked by Arsenal as well, and also Chelsea. But I think Chelsea have got about 400 left wingers, haven't they? So, like,
well, it doesn't matter. They just stored them up for a rainy day. You know, they just throw another one out the yard. Listen, I think more of a deal is probably going to be, for all this talk, will probably be Angel from Lille on a free.
Angel Gomez?
Yeah. That will probably be more.
Yeah, but he's not a left winger, is he?
No. But when we were talking about Jude,
Adam Wharton against Joe. Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
You know,
Well, that's the other story out. I didn't bring that up, but that's an ongoing.
The likely one would be Spurs trying to go for Angel Gomez because there's no fee.
He wants out of France, English, homegrown, yada yada.
Homegrown. You'll get game time, signing on fee, which they'll be able to get for a minimum amount. And then a decent wage, a good wage. They've got plenty of scope there. So as much as I like them, I like Gittens. I'm a big fan of him. Tremendous player, as is Joe Bellingham, as is Adam Wharton. But for me, I reckon we'll end up with bloody Gomez. And he's a very good player. I ain't going to complain.
Yeah, but is that like is that a typical thing that kind of pisses Tottenham fans off? Like, he's not as sexy a name, and certainly if it comes in on a zero price tag, whilst it makes sense financially, like it's going to piss people off, right? Like you could have got this guy, but you went for this guy.
But look what happened. Oh, we're not buying Raya, typical Daniel Levy. We end up buying Vicario, and Vicario has been very good. They said the same about Berghvall, buying a bunch of kids. Who's this kid? I love Edison.
He's not going to cost you. He's not going to cost you 50 bar though, is he? He's going to cost you 100 probably.
Well, we could have bought him for 50 bar
we could have done.
a year ago.
Yeah.
He was on my list as a must-have if we're going to have a 6. Listen, if we get a manager that is going to play a 6, then fine. But I don't think this one is. He prefers to play with 2 8s, and I think that's what's wrong with the system, personally.
Let me move on to...
Get over to Football Inc., guys. Hit that subscribe button, Football Inc.
I'll put the link in one more time, guys. If you're there's 1,000 people here. It's been 1,100 people at times. It's been awesome. Thank you again to Savra if you're watching this for the redirect. But yeah, it's been an incredible show. And like I say, for those of you that are just joining, the news is that Richard Keys has had a few keys, and he said that Tottenham, someone that he knows in Qatar, is saying that the deal is done. He doesn't necessarily subscribe to the notion that it is done, but he's saying that on top of that, either way, he's also heard that there's another team in the top 4 whose owners are willing to sell, and therefore, if Daniel Levy. Yeah, probably Liverpool. If Daniel Levy wants to cash in, then now might be the time. So we will see. It's a moving target, but there's no clickbait for those of you that it kind of is. But the phrase the deal to buy Tottenham is done did come out of Richard Keys' mouth. So you know what, we got to find a way to attract in the views.
Yeah, listen, look, he comes out with a lot. He comes out with a lot. I'll tell you one person who's regretting his purchase, and that's the guy at Man United right now. I mean, he's cutting everything. Listen, look, they haven't got a stadium.
Ineos out is trending.
Yeah, listen.
Be careful what you wish for, Johnny. Is what I'm saying, mate.
I know, but listen, what you wish for. Look, let's be honest, right? If they think Levy's bad, the Glazers were shocking. They got a stadium that's falling down. They got a training ground that's from the dark ages.
Yeah, and take about, was it 40 million quid a year or something silly in dividends out of the club?
Yeah. And it's they've pissed it away, and he's come in thinking that he can clean it up, and he's seen it's 10 times worse.
No, he's cleaning it up. He's cleaning up the bonuses of stewards. He's culling the 300 people that have jobs there that needed to pay for their kids. like lunch tokens
Got rid
or
of the
whatever.
tea lady's gone. It's get your own now. The sock washer's gone. Anyway,
I really hope that if Daniel Levy does sell, that in a year's time there won't be buyer's remorse from the part of the fan base that thinks Daniel Levy is the enemy within. As I say, I massively celebrate the success of the weekend. Anyone that thinks I don't, then you're being disingenuous. I championed it. I always do. And I thought the numbers were really great. I would make the argument, just to be balanced, that I think that there is reason to say, if you're Daniel Levy and you can go, well, after all of that PR, all of that attention, everything, that, only 5% of the match going fans wanted to walk down. And I think that is something that I don't believe that they will get as much. Like, is there a protest scheduled for the next home game? I don't know, right? But
listen, all I'll say is Daniel Levy is so thick-skinned. This is a guy.
Do you think so? I don't think he is.
He is thick-skinned. All this, he's emotional. Like, if he was disturbed about it, he'd change it.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Being thick-skinned versus having belief in your own process.
Sean, how much
different things?
Sean, throw your fans a freaking bone. Okay?
No, but Johnny, hang on. It's two different conversations.
Sean.
I don't care about whether the owner is X, Y, and Z of any particular nation. I don't care about that stuff. But like the idea that someone can have a validity in his own process and yet still not enjoy the hate that he gets from people that he doesn't think understands the full picture. They're two different things. Like, you can say, I'm not going to change because these people don't like me, but it still affects me.
No, look, listen, I totally disagree, right? Honestly, because he doesn't communicate, we're left to speculate. And when you speculate, the speculation itself can create its own dramas and its own conspiracy theorists, right? He doesn't communicate, doesn't say anything. What I'm saying to you is communicate.
Not many chairmen do, by the way.
Right? I'm just saying, right? Throw the fans a bone. One of them, you promised us a museum, right? There's no museum. There's no acknowledgement to the past of this club, right? Second of all, right, if you gave the gates that you promised about 8 years ago, right, with a statue of Bill Nicholson. Listen, when I go to Coventry away and I see a bloody statue of Jimmy Hill, and I go to Man U and I see statue of this one, statue of that one, or I go to Liverpool and I see all the nods to the greats, or I go to Arsenal. I went to that TNT interview.
Isn't there a statue of the Conkeys up there now, though?
Hang on a second, right? Well, when I went for that TNT interview, right, it really pissed me off because I was stood there by the two cannons, right? And I'm talking to the guys who are interviewing me, and they're all bloody Arsenal fans on the crew. And I said, you know what, this is really pissing me off. And I said, what is it? Well, being outside the stadium. I said, no, seeing the statues, right? The acknowledgement of their past.
We've got a cockerel on the stadium.
Listen, come on, stop this, right? What I'm saying to you is, if he wanted to turn opinion...
I agree with you about the stadium, about the statues. I agree with you about that.
Right, you can still have the events, right? But I want to go down to the stadium. If I take kids down there or people take their kids, who's that, Dad? That's Bill Nicholson, the greatest manager in Spurs history. Who's that, Dad? That's Jimmy Greaves, one of the greatest players, goal scorers. Who's that, right? I think Arsenal have got 5 statues to their greats. We have none, right? And when I see other clubs, lesser clubs, smaller clubs than ours, acknowledge their past where ours is cleansed, yeah, they do. They have a mural.
I'm pretty sure. Didn't they also? Is it a mural or is it a statue of the Kroenke? The Kroenkes as well, right?
No, it's a mural of the set piece coach.
But there's also something of Stan Kroenke or one of them, right? And I'm like, imagine if there was a mural put up of Daniel Levy.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't disagree with you about the statues. I also think there was an Irish lad, I forget his name, who was one of the guys I interviewed. And I said, why do you feel the way you feel? And he dropped a really good bar, to be honest. He said, last week, King Charles came to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and he threw an American football. I had to laugh. I was like, Yeah, that was pretty awkward, to be honest. When I saw that,
I mean, I'm not being funny.
Now.
You've come to the Spurs stadium, you've thrown an NFL.
Yeah, it's problematic for the narrative. I hear you 100%.
Understand, but you can't read the frigging room. Sure.
Yeah. No, I get you, but those things are not the same as like.
I know. Yeah, read the
not
room.
The same as not being affected by it.
We've got our Tottenham back. Honestly, we got.
Yeah, fair enough.
We have, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But listen, at the same time, some of the questions that I was asking, some of the answers I was given, and not all of them are the ones that have been published. I've got some other interviews. I'm not sure if I will publish them because I think that I'm kind of almost want to protect the people from the publicity of the answers because they were wild. But some of the answers I was given, it very much supports my notion that there's people that ask, why can't we have a model like Germany, 50 plus 1 or 51%, where fans get the ultimate overarching control? If some of these fans were in charge of Tottenham's direction of travel, we would be bankrupt and we would be, you talk about statues, we would be a statue because, yeah, some of the answers I heard I haven't published were just like wild. But listen, Johnny, I know you've got to go, mate. So I think I've covered off all of the main stories. Oh no, one other one. Marcus Thuram, ex-Borussia Mönchengladbach player, a player that Tottenham were linked to. We were linked to both Thurams. Lilian Thuram, the ex-player, the French international, the World Cup winner. We're talking about like the Greys, right? The lineage of the Greys. Thuram has got some decent DNA too, and I'm not sure which one it is. There is a son of Lilian. I'm not sure if it's Marcus or if it's Kefram. Kefram was a midfielder that I was very, very interested in Tottenham buying in the summer when I did that 10 players that Tottenham should be looking for a Monster Six. He was one of the options. I believe it was Kefram. But the other one is Marcus Thuram, who played for Mönchengladbach, went to Inter Milan and has absolutely smashed it out of the park this year. I think his numbers are just insane since he's joined them. And he's stepped up to the next level. And apparently Tottenham are looking at him as well. And Inter Milan may double their money. And Inter Milan have got some financial issues apparently. So there is maybe I think the story was that when Tottenham scouts went over to look at Simeone Inzaghi the other day, they were looking at another player as well that apparently that Marcus Thuram is someone that they were also keeping an eye on, and the feedback has been sensational according to reports. I don't know how true they are, but do you know much about Marcus Thuram, mate? He's a well-rounded player, can play in a bunch of versatile, can play a bunch of different positions, off the left, off the right, through the middle, at the top. Strong, powerful, good runner with the ball at his feet, 2-footed, good in the air. He really is a very, very accomplished player. And like I say, he's made the transition to Italian football. Maybe the next move is to the Premier League. There's a lot of players, a lot of clubs are after him. Arsenal keeping tabs on him as well. Really good player. I really like him, and I liked him last year as well when we had the chance and didn't take it. We went down the Solanke path instead. Thoughts on Thuram, mate?
Another good player, but I think we will be the last dining at this table. I think with his options that he will have coming to Spurs will probably be the least exciting of those options. That's my take on it. Very good player. Again, a bit of a risk, like it always is when you move to another league. But as you said, he's adapted well to Italian football. Quality, as I say, class is permanent. Yeah.
By the way, Ben Kaufman came up with an absolute. Not that this is on topic at all, but we were talking in the pub before the game, and I introduced Ben to a couple of friends of mine that were there with me, and we were talking about the women's game, right? And that Arsenal and Tottenham, they played at the Emirates on the same day on Sunday, and I think they had like 55,000
about women on the
people.
game down at the pub.
Are they? I'll be there in a minute. I'll be there in 10. I was like, obviously we were speaking about Alan Brazil and his uncomfortable kind of. I think it was Alan Brazil on TalkSport who had the back and forth with the lady about the relevance of Manchester United's Plan 25 or whatever it was. Anyway, long story short, Ben came up with a fantastic idea that I hadn't even thought of. I wanted to get your take on it. we were talking about, like, you know, the standard of the women's football obviously is improving, but the one area of the game that is just laughable is the goalkeepers. And when you compare the fact that they have to play on the same size pitch as men's football, and that, you know, women are not 6'4", and most goalkeepers in the Premier League are 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", whatever, that Ben was like, yeah, the way to make that game immediately 10 times better is by changing the size of the goal and changing the size of the pitch. And I don't know whether that would go down.
We want equality, Sean. We want equality. We want equality. It's all about equality. It doesn't, you know, we can't. I mean, what you're suggesting is common sense.
Well, it wasn't me suggesting it. It was Benny Boy, to be honest. And I thought it was a fantastic idea, because goalkeepers, they are a bit shit, aren't they? Got women goalkeepers. Let's be honest.
You cannot bring common sense into the equation, right? The fact that you would suggest that the average woman who's around about 5'5", 5'6", should be competing in the same size goal as a goalkeeper who's 6'4", 6'5" is absolutely laughable. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. No, I mean, come on, you know,
can they change? Can they change the pitch and play them in the same stadiums? Forget about the politics. Forget about the kind of politics. But can you do
the pitch the same? I don't think the pitch needs to be different size.
Just the goals need to be shortened by about.
Goals need to. Listen, I went to the final.
15% smaller, and you're good.
Thursday, Man United, and every time Man United got a corner, I was like trying not to laugh. It was so bad. I was laughing, and I got into a lot of trouble because
just like we're going to get after this stream for sure.
There was some women in front of me who, because I'd never been, you know, this was the biggest women's game that I'd been to. And I was laughing, and I got into a lot of trouble because, you know, they obviously didn't like the fact I was laughing. But I'd never seen. So, you know, you've got this little girl, this little woman, right, in a huge goal, and like make the goal smaller. Make the goal smaller. There was.
I've never even thought about it, but it's not rocket science. But it is a fantastic idea, and it make the quality of the game so much better.
I want it to be successful. I want Tottenham to be successful as a women's football team. But come on, let's have some common sense
conversations, right?
Common sense, right? Let's shrink it, okay, by a percentage. So, like Mary Earps is 5'8", and listen. If you've ever stood inside a goal, a professional goal, then see what
I'm 6'1", and I haven't got any hops. I'm not sure I can jump and hit the crossbar, if I'm entirely honest.
Get your missus to go and stand in a goal.
Which missus? The one that I'm buying off of.
Whether it's your missus, your girlfriend, go and get her to stand in a goal in a Sunday league game beforehand.
I'm going to be outside Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Apparently, there's girls on the game up there, so.
Right. But listen, surely I'm going to have to leave, buddy.
Oh, yeah, we're going to leave you alone. Guys, listen, there's common sense with the conversation, common sense, hopefully in the comment section after this, because we've had some difficult conversations around some politics that we hope will be well received in the right motivations. But Johnny, love you, man. Where can people find you, buddy?
Give us a follow on X, Johnny H3232. And guys, if you're on Insta, please give me a follow here on Talking Tottenham 1882. I'm trying to build that back up after losing my big account where I had thousands on there. I was at about 6,000 and going mad. So I've had to start it all again. So it's Insta Talking Tottenham 1882. If you go on there, the link's also in my X account. And obviously get down to Football Inc.
There's the link, guys. For Football Inc. We'd love it if there's still 900 people or whatever watching this. If a couple of hundred of you could do us a favor and just jump over, hit that link, press the subscribe button.
We're trying to get to 1,000, guys. So I really appreciate any follow. And Sean and I said we won't be doing just Tottenham stuff. So if you've got any interest in football per se, that's what we'll be doing. And thanks for everyone for watching and for putting up with us two ranting.
Degenerates, yeah.
Degenerates who have just abused women's football. We love women's football. We're just saying Ben's suggestion is absolutely spot on. One I've mentioned before. Shrink the goals, make it more competitive. We don't want to see 5'5", 5'7" women in a goal which is occupied.
It's unfair for them. It's unfair for them, right?
Keeper. It's unfair. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
All right, guys. We'll leave you there. Get over to We Are Tottenham TV coming up now. Johnny's over there to speak to the boys, and we'll see. And it's goodbye from me. And as always, guys, like, subscribe, and comment. Take it easy. Ciao, ciao.
See you later.
Come on, you Spurs.
Or any other team.